This my day starts. So cold. Morning, matey.
Yeah, morning, Rog.
Have a good sleep.
Oh, good sleep.
Yeah, nice and warm.
And yeah, like I said, first week, didn't use the sleeping bag. It's one of those cold weather ones, you know, because it gets too warm.
Yeah.
The last night was just perfect.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
You had to resort to getting your sleeping bag out.
I had to, yeah.
What did you have before that? Just blankets or?
No, I had a couple of blankets and that was enough, you know.
Yeah.
But you could still feel that chill.
Yeah.
But this sleeping bag just made it a little bit more comfortable. Yeah,
That's the way.
That's it.
Last night we played a bit of the Beach Boys come on.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
What are you're a big fan of rock and roll, and that was your era, wasn't it? You grew up in that era of when rock and roll came in?
Yeah, I think rock and roll was sort of, I think it's 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
The big names and big hits came out, you know?
Yeah.
And even just before and that, and it was, I think, more happy music.
Yeah.
You know, everyone sort of rocked and jived, and young and old sort of, partying down the beach or wherever. It's got everyone rocking, you know. It's and that's why it's sort of.
They didn't have that before. Before that come in, it just wasn't around, was it?
No,
It was like a new thing.
Yeah, I think the Beatles and Elvis all started it off early in the piece, and you had the blues. That's still popular, you know. And I think that started off in the cotton fields with the Africans, African Americans now they say, but definitely the rock and roll era. That's been and gone, but still around, you know, still popular. Yeah.
And you remember it as a happy time?
I think so, you know, yeah. You know, happy times now, it's a different style of kind of music now, but more sort of sad. Everyone's caught up in what's happening around the world, and not happy at all.
So you reckon the young fellas should get a bit of Buddy Holly and Beach Boys and go down to the beach and just rock and roll a bit? You reckon that's good advice?
Oh, but it's the right advice, you know. It's you know, get out there, just enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
You know, be happy, and.
But you're right. It's happy. It was the music that made you feel happy, didn't it?
It does. Yeah. Music sort of connect, you know.
Yeah.
Music connects everyone, and whether you're down in the dumps and you're hitting the bottle or whatever, you know, you always seem to find a tune, something to turn on or listen to, you know.
And what was your favourite? What did you enjoy listening to?
Look, a lot of country, classical. I like pretty well. There's three main ones: rock and roll, country, you know, classical, and blues.
Yeah.
So,
and how did you? I mean, you didn't have a CD player or anything like that. How did you listen to it back then? Was it just on a record player or on the radio?
Most of it's through radio, you know, because you had no CD players, and you had a record player. Someone had one, or family had one, Yeah, and it's only later when the tapes and all that came out, you know. Yeah. So everyone went mad to get one because otherwise you could only listen through the radio, you know. Yeah. Like out in the stock camp, all of us fellas. I remember Mount Isa again back in the early '60s. I think it's called 4LM Mount Isa Country.
Yeah.
And pretty well everyone around across the territory and across some of the states put in a request, you know, what song you wanted played.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then every evening after a feed, then everyone would sit around and listen to all the country requests that come into the radio station.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was another way of connecting to everyone out in the bush and that. So they had in the camp we had the big radio, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just threw an aerial over a tree and there's your signal, you know. Yeah.
You did that, did you? You had to put an aerial up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just throw a bit of wire over a tree.
That's all, you know. Yeah. Yep. And that's gave you a bit of music and a bit of news.
Yeah, right. And I remember when I was on the cattle station in Malunga, it was, you know, especially the first month, it was a bit of a lonely feeling because you just didn't know anyone. You're out in the middle of nowhere. Like, just being in the middle of nowhere is a bit of on your own. Well, I mean, it's on a station, but I was only young and I had a lonely feeling, you know. And I remember listening to Macca on the radio because I knew Mum and Dad used to always listen to the radio, the Macca. Remember Macca?
Yep, your Macca, yeah.
And for some reason, I listened to that was it Sunday morning or something, and it made me feel a bit more connected, you know what I mean? But that's what the radio did, didn't it? It connected people.
It did.
Even though you're all just listening, but it's what connected everyone, didn't it?
But it just distracted you from that loneliness, I suppose, you know? Yeah, it connects you with other people and music and that.
Because you could be right out here on a cattle station, middle of nowhere, but you could still listen to
you could still
what's
listen,
happening, you know?
Yeah.
It was a really important part of social life, the radio, wasn't it?
It is, you know? And,
did many people have an album player, like an LP record player? Did many of the cattle station owners? Or
quite a few, the big LP players, you know?
Yeah.
And then you had the little smaller ones in that version. They're pretty well at the first lot, you know? Yeah.
And did you go to many rodeos? Remember on Malunga, the only time you get a day off is when the rodeo come up. Did you go to a few rodeos? And
yeah, we went to a few rodeos, you know. Main one was Ella's yearly event, but then you had a couple of bush road style rodeos, you know. Yeah, where all the station people got together, all the ringers got together to more or less have fun, you know, just engage and meet people. Yeah, share stories. Yeah.
And did you ever get on a bull or a buck jump or anything?
Yeah. A couple in my time, you know.
What did you used to get on? Bit of everything?
I like the saddle bronc, and like I said, the bush you could hang up pretty well, you know, and then in the rodeos, the old Cox Poley style of saddle is just sort of fading away a little bit, and then you had the ARRA, which is Australian Rough Riders Association, proper bucking saddle, you know. I think they followed America, same thing. And they were a bit different to get first feel of, but then once you work out how it sort of with the right stirrup adjustments and that, and your knees grip, you could hang on pretty well, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. yeah.
Well, you didn't have long to learn. Like you only had 8 seconds, didn't you?
That's it.
What was that first saddle you mentioned? I hadn't heard that before.
Cox Polly.
That was just a
They're part of there was 2 or 3 other brands, you know,
yeah.
that came out at the same time. But the Cox Polly was, because I had one, I picked up an old one from old mate Chalmers. He had one sitting in the back there, and pretty well seen the day. So then I did it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I did all the candle lining, all the stitching, hand stitching, and
What, recently or just recently or a while back?
no, about 40, 50 years ago, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, when we were still playing around with animals and horses.
Yeah.
And
So you basically got an old saddle and did it up for yourself.
yeah. 'Cause we used to do a lot of stitching, you know, ourselves, like out
Yeah.
in the camp. You'd use pop rivets, but few of us like that stitching, you know, because it looks nice. Yeah. You know, you wax your thread and then get 2 needles and away you go. You know, yeah.
So you used to make a lot of your own gear.
Belts, buckles, knife pouches, even saddlebags. You know, anything like that.
Yeah.
Same with bridles. We'd make cow and bridles and halters and all that.
Did you?
Yeah.
What did you use for reins? Was it just thin, long strip of leather or rope or
Long strip of leather,
mostly? Yeah.
red hide leather.
Yeah.
Long strip, and it's only lately then the ropes came in, you know.
Yeah.
The soft ropes.
It used to be always just long leather strips.
That's all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And same was making because early days we started off. Didn't last long, but towards the end of it, because we had a bullock hide, then we'd make our own head ropes and leg ropes.
Yeah.
Yeah, out of cowhide. So
Did you used to, what did you have for blankets, like saddle blankets? Was it just a big thick blanket or?
no, back then, because R.M. Williams were going,
Yeah.
and they had the proper blankets, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he cut it up to fit the horse and saddle, to put your saddle on.
Yeah.
And then you'd sort of double it, you know. Yeah.
Right.
So you could flip it over, and then you could, if you don't get a chance to wash it, you can open it up and flip it over on the inside, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you'd buy a big one and just cut it up to suit what horse size saddle you had.
That's it, you know. In the saddle rooms, we used to have it there, so you couldn't go willy-nilly and do what you want. You just had to have your leather, your rivets, stitching gear, and bridles and hobbles. We used to make it out of bullock hide too, you know. Yeah, with the Turk's head.
Yeah.
Same as what you got on your.
And what do you remember about R.M. Williams? Did you ever bump into him, or did you? You know, he's a bit of a legend today, although sort of, I suppose, fading now a little bit because you know, he passed on and the company was sold. And I remember when I was growing up, it was all the thing. Everyone wanted to have an R.M. Williams shirt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember about R.M. Williams? He's obviously a major outfitter for the bush, wasn't he, back then?
He pretty well opened up everything, you know, for the bush.
Yeah.
Everything was just R.M. Williams, and with his background, he knew, you know, what people wanted.
Yeah.
What style and what suited, and colours, and it was all good gear, you know, good, long-lasting, heavy-duty. Yeah, from your boots to your shirt to your trousers and hats and all that, you know. It really opened up, but now it's sort of fading away. A lot of people, as normal, you know. and things fade away, and then it fades further away, and people, all they see is the brand R.M. Williams, you know. Yeah, a lot of, yeah.
Because he grew up in stations, didn't he? Much like you did.
He did. I think that's where he started off in. I don't know. I've got no idea. Back up Burke somewhere, and he started stitching up some of the riders' boots when he was out there on the camp, and then then that was his passion and in life, and he knew what the people needed. That's what they needed out here. Someone to do a bit of leather work, saddlery, and he never looked back. You know?
Did you ever own a pair of his boots?
Yeah. We had quite a few, you know, over the years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because they're quite expensive now, but back then you could afford them. You could afford a pair of his boots.
Back then we could, you know. Yep. Because when you go into town, you know, you get a good word out of them, and that once a year you'd go into town like a rodeo or something like that, and then you'd buy a second pair, and then you'd keep that, and you'd break it in, you know, like break it in, get it more sort of used to your style, your size of your feet, and then you'd swap back to the old ones because it's more comfortable, you know. It's worn in. Yeah.
And if you didn't buy R.M. Williams boots, what sort of boots could you buy?
I can't remember there was any other boots around, you know.
Just that, really. Everybody used to wear them.
Like for the stock camps,
Everyone had R.M. boots on.
And mainly because of the heels, you know. You had the Santa Fe's and the Cuban heels, which gave you a bit more length, because in the stirrups, you know, you don't want to wear thongs or runners. Because just imagine if your foot slips through the stirrup and you're hooked up in it, you're pretty well dead, you know, because you hang up and the horse is going wild and give you a good bashing anyway, you know. Yeah. There's no way, unless the stirrup somehow snapped off, but the stirrup leather is pretty strong, so it normally doesn't. Sometimes it might come out of the keeper up the top. But depends which angle you were stretched out on, you know. If you're up 6 foot in the air and it's it'd come out.
I got hung up once. Just recently, I was with a mate in Gloucester, helping him muster some cows, and the horse was on the side of a wet hill, and it slipped over, and it just in a second slipped over, and we hit the ground, and the horse bounced up, but I was left on the ground, you know. And then he took off, and my foot was, I had boots on, but somehow I got just hung up, and it went galloping off, and all I could see is these hooves going past my head, you know, and I thought I was dead, you know. And then I saw the big stump coming, and I was going to get, you know, if I hit that stump, I was a goner. And then
that's it.
The stirrup, I had a little Alan Ruddock saddle.
Right.
And you ever heard of them, Alan Ruddock?
No.
I bought it from Ronnie Wall, and the stirrup the stirrup strap come off the hook.
Yep.
Yeah, lucky. Just before, it probably only went 20 metres, but
very lucky. Yeah.
You know, after that, it's always been a fear of mine of getting hung up, you know, because it's frightening, eh?
It's bad, eh? You know,
especially out in the bush, you know.
Yep.
Like if you're in an arena in a rodeo, it's one thing because someone's going to pull the horse up. But in the bush, you know, it'd kill you, eh?
It will. That's why it's important, you know. Like families got animals. You're better off teaching your kids bareback, you know. Yeah. Get them used to the balance. No saddle, you know, and bareback, and that builds up their confidence. And that, you know, And then you start sort of giving them advice. This is the reason why, you know, you just got to watch your foot, don't go fully into the stirrup line and get caught up and that. Yeah, 'cause it's frightening.
Did you have any bad bust-ups? Well, you had that one time you broke your leg. Is there any
It's-
other times did you see many blokes get beat up, with on the horses, like getting fallen off and that?
Not bad. A couple of times you see him sort of get hooked up, and but yeah, luckily not really bad. Because
Just all really careful too, eh?
you're hundreds of miles or kilometres from emergency, and you've got no airstrip. You've got no medical gear in the vehicles.
Yeah.
Because we never thought of those. The nearest medical help you can get is back at the homestead, with the two-way radio to the flying doctor. And but a lot of the time, everyone's sort of fairly cautious, and also there's times that you throw cautious to the wind too, Yeah. It's,
And Deepwell, it was a Deepwell station you were at?
yeah.
And after you broke your leg and you were with Margaret and what was her husband's name? Rex or?
Oh, Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you went to Deepwell, not far away.
Yeah, because they pretty related to the Hayes family. Hayes family had two properties, Anduja Station and then Deepwell. And so they sent me there, and this is where I pretty well sort of learned everything about life and survival and cooking and animals and your fencing, your bore, your welding, your mechanical and all that. So I had to do everything.
Yeah, there's a big station, and
And
so you started as a jackaroo.
not quite big. I think it was 300-400 square miles.
Yeah,
But that's big enough,
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah. But
So you started as jackaroo, and then you just gradually learnt everything.
Yep. And jackaroo is what we call doing your apprenticeship,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in the trucking industry, you start off just being a yard boy or grease monkey,
Yeah.
Then jackaroo, same thing. You start off doing all the fiddly little jobs that the experienced guys don't want to do,
Yeah.
Yeah, so they put that task on all the young new beginners.
Yeah. And how long were you doing that for on Deepwell? Several years? Or?
I think probably around 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I did go back once after, but the passion had sort of gone, the wide open spaces wasn't there anymore. You had helicopters coming in, you had motorbikes, and everything was fenced off, and so I was pretty well sort of drifting,
So the days of those traditional stockmen that you grew up with sort of changed with helicopters, fencing, and motorbikes, I suppose.
Yeah. Yep. Then your cattle trucks started to come in,
Yeah.
Single decks, single drives, and they were a big thing. And then that period just seems like it was just overnight. Then everything's sort of changed,
Yeah.
From
The world keeps changing, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Yeah.
And so then you sort of left the saddle and started driving trucks.
I did, yeah, because it sort of still gave me that freedom and an open space. And you saw a lot of country, and you met a lot of different people, and you were still sort of involved with animals and that, but in a different way,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Would have been, even back then driving trucks would have been very different to today, you know, with the older trucks and the rough roads. But
Yep.
it's getting easier now, I suppose, isn't it?
Oh, a lot easier, you know. Yeah.
And you drove out at Headland, and you spent a bit of time in Headland, didn't you, driving trucks over there?
Yeah, look, I started off with Tanamites, with Rogers there, and Alan Rogers was the manager. Him and I sort of known each other since school days, you know.
Oh, okay.
But he ran a good show, you know. All his trucks were just immaculate and heavy duty, top of the range, well maintained.
Yeah.
And he set a high standard for the drivers, you know, and all the drivers didn't bat an eyelid, you know. They just go all the time. Yeah. And then from there you sort of move on to other companies. I was called Haulage. I did sort of Alice Darwin, Mount Isa. Then you sort of find out that, okay, there's probably, you know, like in the mining company, they had the roster system, you know. So I said, oh, yeah, it might be an easier life, you know. So I did that for a while, yeah. Then I come across to Port Hedland a few times.
Yeah.
And, a lot of mates there, met up with a lot of mates, good blokes. Then those blokes come from Queensland, Brisbane, Adelaide, anywhere, you know. They'd fly in, fly out, and
A lot of ex-stockmen.
a lot of ex-stockmen, but we all connected, you know.
Yeah. And you mentioned that the truck companies wanted men off the land, you know.
Oh, look, we've always looked for young and older people with that farming or station experience, you know. Yeah, because they, like I said, they're multi-skilled and they work from daylight till dark. So they're used to hard work. They're used to being driven, and also they can get themselves out of any trouble, you know, because they've got that bush mechanical experience, skills, and and pretty well no time wasters, you know.
I mean, that's what I did, but it's a great thing for a young fella to go to a cattle station. You can still do it, you know, and spend 6 months or 12 months, because it teaches you a lot of life skills, doesn't it, you know.
It does.
Work for a lot of men, and, you know, it's not an easy life, but it's a good grounding for young people to do, isn't it, you know.
Oh, it's bloody good grounding, you know, yeah. And because I did spend on Jim Cooper, he had bulk haul, he had RTA, which is Road Train Australia, and he was supposed to be last of the gentleman, you know. He's and old Jim, he made a lot of men, you know, out of people that would have gone in other directions.
Yeah.
And where a lot of those drivers said, you know, oh, Jim made me, you know. Yeah. And same with all of us. And he's one of these guys, he'd visit and he'd show up, and he didn't say much. He didn't have to say much. Somehow the expectation was there that you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah.
Keep doing it, you know.
Where was this at?
I was based in Wyndham.
Okay.
There for a couple of years.
So he was in Wyndham.
No, his base was main hub was Darwin.
Okay.
Yeah, he just had branches and depots.
And he would travel around and visit
across there. Yeah, he'd travel around and catch up with managers and drivers, you know. Yeah, just to show face and. Look, he's the one that really sort of stands out to me as a genuine sort of human being, and believed in you and everyone, you know. Yeah, and he had good gear. He had good workshops, mechanic, and because the trucks were working hard and we were working hard too, because in Wyndham that you're doing 16-hour run. So you're looking at 17, 18-hour days, you know?
Yeah, right.
Days. And after, got to move that stick for a minute. The smoke's getting in. It was, it was a job where pretty well everyone after 2 years burned out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you can go and have a 3 weeks break. You come back and still get you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you needed to get it right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, just too much, you know. But
Yeah.
then at the end of it, then we shifted our operation down to Derby, where you're carting out a same place, carting out of Fitzroy. But our depot was in Derby, and that was I left after that.
Yeah. And what made a good boss, you know? Like a good boss that you looked up to. What do you think made a good manager?
I think that's, you know, a good manager that sort of give you clear instructions on where the company's heading, you know,
Yeah.
and what's the expectation, it's sort of preparing and, you know, making sure the gear's running and ordering things when you break down and so on, so everyone's on top of it and no one's losing their cool, you know. Yeah, then you've got management, other type of management, authoritarian more or less, you know, and too much pressure, so they get angry and at drivers, at anything and everything, and then they get flustered and they get pissed off, and where, like the gym, you know, it's cool, calm, and they said, no, don't worry about it, you know.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's another day, you know. Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, today's another day, and
Well,
getting light, and we'll
actually, we're pretty well close to the end of our journey, eh? We've
getting
only
there.
got another day or two. That's it.
Yeah.
There'll be no more morning sessions.
Yeah, let's get. We're talking about where the boys are going to head off at Halls Creek or Billy Luna, and
That's right. Yeah.
so it's going to be sad to see the Kiwi boys go.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
form a bond. You definitely form a bond, don't you, out here? Because you're relying on each other, you know, and
Yep.
spending a lot of time together.
No, and it's been a good journey, you know. Interesting one, and it's new for all of us
Yeah,
because we haven't been on this before.
yeah. You don't know what's up the road, do you?
Yeah. And it's good you're able to have that Starlink because it's showing some of the people around across Australia or globe that okay, this is what's happening here. You know, this is a type of country, and
Hey, what if anyone's got any questions for Uncle Richard, or I suppose any of us, but if any questions, they can just put them in the comments and we can ask.
yeah,
you,
through you guys, you know.
Yeah,
That's it. Because once, that's it. Because I'll spend a week or so in Broome with my daughter and grandson, and then
Yeah. You looking forward to that?
and catching up. Then I'll head back down south. Then.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Richard.
All right,
Good on you, mate.
catch you, bud. Yep.
All right, have a little pack up.
Cup exchange
What's
is happening.
going on here?
Cup exchanging.
We're having a wee exchange of.
So you
Of
guys
cups.
have got 2 Murray cups,
We do.
and we got 2 Tipborough cups,
Yeah.
and you haven't got a Tipborough cup, and we haven't got a Murray cup.
No. So we did a deal last night over a whiskey.
The problem is the Tipborough cup's worth more than the Murray cup, I reckon.
Well, you can take that up with the owner of the cup. We're just doing the physical exchange.
Okay.
It's a bush exchange. It's okay.
Here you go, buddy.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
That's a good
much.
cup.
Shake on it.
These cups are so good, aren't they? Give me a look at them. They're like little whiskey cups, aren't they?
They are little whiskey cups. Yeah.
Actually, I think
They like for a nip of anything, to be fair.
I think we got the better exchange there, Ernie. That's a better looking cup.
It is a
than
better
that
looking
one.
cup.
Well, deal is done.
Deal's done now.
Yeah,
We
no
shook on
backing
it.
out.
We're all over. Brilliant. Thanks for that.
No worries, mate.
I'll tuck it away.
See how neat the camp is. Glenn sneaks around and he packs up before he goes to bed, eh?
He does. Although last night's the first night, he's left everything out.
That's
He did, to his credit, put
Normally
it
he
under the
packs-
canopy.
yeah. Normally he packs everything away before he goes to bed, doesn't he?
He does.
But then we're still ready before
Yeah.
he's ready.
That's because he's scared of spiders getting into his kit.
Is it? Is that what? It's probably it.
Creepy crawlies.
Yeah. Alright, we gotta pack up. Takes us about 30 minutes all up. Tent. It just drops down. This gear goes in the truck. One thing with washing up water, you know, everyone gets their washing up water. It's really important. Puts it together and then you put that on the fire at the end, you know. Cook pot bag, a wine bag. That goes in there. This all just chucks in. All got a spot in there. About 5 minutes. A few things go in the drawer. Joni does her little thing while I'm doing the tent. Those bags go in. It's all pretty easy, Darren, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you like your little step?
Yeah, pretty good.
You need that, eh? That's the important thing with when the truck's a bit high in the canopy. You got to have
Yes.
nothing worse than you can't reach in there. So that
Yes.
step's like really important.
Right.
Yeah. So it's well, I get up at 5:30. We talk to Richard for half an hour. Then I got to sort of split the videos up and send them to Jake. Takes 15 minutes. And then we come and pack up. And then on the road about 7 o'clock. So it doesn't take long. Alrighty. Alright, so a couple of things that have been really good on this trip. One is a little blower. Now, I need that to suck the air out of the mattress. But just blowing them down the back of your truck, you know, because that's where we get up and down and put your shoes, so we can blow the dust off. Glenn, for sure, he uses that blower every day, blowing sensors down the back of his truck. So it's something you mightn't think is handy, but it's really, I wouldn't go camping without it. The other big thing, I mean, really the only thing we've needed is zip ties. You know, we've used several of those. You want zip ties where you can get to it quick and easy. It is foam rubber. Some sort of foam rubber is always good. And I've carried a bit of leather. You can see it's here. A bit of leather is really good too. That's just some scrap. Because we've got the muffler here is rubbing. See there? The only thing you can fix that with is a bit of leather. So it's wearing through now. I'll put another bit there. And gaffer tape. We've all been using this. Glenn's used a lot of it, and I've used it. So some gaffer tape's really handy. Because it's such overgrown, what I've done here, we've got a really overgrown track coming up. About 2 days of just bashing through scrub. So the end of the awning of this, it's already getting a bit of wear. So I've put that on there, and also this rope here, strap to deflect the branches around there. Otherwise they're going to risk of ripping this off. And a bag just to sort of protect it. We've got these ropes here. These are great. It's just a guy rope. We had the steel ones, but the steel ones flap about too much. They go like this, and then they stretch. And once they stretch, they flop. So that's all you need, a little guy rope. That works a lot, really well. Tape things up like this. You know, canning, you got to do that. One of them on the other side ripped off, come out. But gaffer tape like that. And Glennie, what have you been using your gaffer tape for? Or my gaffer tape?
Just a bit on the front guards there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all you've used it for?
Yep.
And you're going to put a little bag on the front of your windscreen?
Yeah, I'm going to use
you
the
can.
bucket bag.
Yeah.
PVC
Yeah, that'd be good, eh?
bucket, yeah.
And zip ties.
Yep.
This has been good for you, the bit of mesh.
Oh, excellent, just keeping all the spinifex out.
Yeah, I might put that on mine again today.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, and zip ties, mate. Zip ties, just saying what sort of spares are handy, but the blower, zip
Blower.
tie,
Yep.
and gaffer tape. That's about all we need, isn't it?
That mesh is critical for
Yeah,
out
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And expect a lot of scratches. Otherwise, just try and protect where you can. You know, like this here. And tyres, you know, just plugs, eh? All you
Yeah,
need is
just
these
plugs.
plugs.
I'd say a couple of spares would be nice because you just never know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I think those tyre pressure monitors would be handy
Useful.
too.
Yeah, I think so. As well.
It's just really hard to know you got a flat tyre. When you're driving on flat tyres, it's hard to know when you got a flat, isn't it?
Because that one on the roof, that was completely burnt out.
Yeah. So that's emergency tyre, isn't it?
Emergency time.
I really wanted to see you try and put that on with tyre levers.
Well, I've got Uncle Richard here, so because he's
Yeah.
an ex-trucker, he'll smash it.
He knows how to do it, doesn't he? I bet you. Alright, so there's just a couple of little tips. And that's for the tanning, you know, some things that are, you can carry all the spares you like, but really all we use is gaffer tape and zip ties. You know, this is the rear trundle drawer. It's hard to keep, or you can't get dust out of that. But I've just got all bags, as you can see, so that works pretty good. Another thing, I think the biggest problem you're going to have is human error, you know, forgetting to tie something down, forgetting to chuck something in, forgetting to latch up the back of your, you know, your drawers. You know, when you've really got to make that habit when you're ready to go. You sort of, you know, everyone's starting their engines and you're quick, let's go. You've really got to walk around your truck 2 times, look for everything, you know, make sure these are done up. And, you know, I mean, I'm always worried about mechanical issues, you know, doing a diff or blowing a gearbox, blowing a clutch. But honestly, the most of the problem you're going to have is something you've done because you've panicked, or, you know, you're stopping all the time, you know, opening things up, and, you know, you forget to do something. It's going to be your biggest problem, I think. So just stay calm and, you know, keep your wits about you and check everything, and you won't have any trouble, really. And just taking it steady, you know. The other big problem is too fast in the washout and doing something, you know, so just take it steady. All right.
Any snack service in the landing?
Snack service.
Yeah.
She wants snacks.
Oh, wow.
That's the -1.
Brendan's going to drive the 79 for a few minutes. And hey, you got my wife in the car with you?
Yeah.
2 hands on the wheel, all right?
2 hands on the wheel. Right, yeah.
Don't want any little incidents. And you better put your seatbelt on, okay?
Yeah. Harness up.
And I'll have a little drive of the disco. Am I allowed to have a drive?
Yeah. Yep. You know, once you've driven it, though, you'll never go back.
I'm scared of that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually a little worried. I'm nervous.
Oh, right, into a real truck.
Yeah, mate.
Is this how it goes? There's nothing to.
That's it. Nothing to do.
What are we in?
First high.
Haven't driven a manual in so long.
Yeah? Your Pajero's automatic?
Giro's auto. Oh, jeez, this is a dream, eh? Fox trailer.
Another trailer? I'd say about a 5th trailer we've seen. More. Probably 6 or 7, eh?
Yeah, I reckon we've seen a whole heap. Probably over a dozen if we include the.
Maybe just put your window up. It's a bit noisy. Had to turn the snorkel around and it just sucks straight out the window.
So with the speed, 30 on these, there's way less vibration through the wheel for starters.
Yeah, right.
It just, yeah, it's totally different actually.
Yeah, well, coils all round, and extra wheelbase is the difference in suspension, isn't it?
Yeah, you can feel it. It's a bit more
Rolly.
wobbly side to side, I suppose.
Rolly, yeah.
A little bit more rolly, but then
Yeah.
it's higher.
Yeah. And we haven't got a sway bar in the back. We've got to put one in. That'll fix a lot of that.
Right, okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, Love the V8 though.
Does it sound better?
That's well, the fact that there's no sound coming out of the other one. that's problem number one.
I got to do a call out too on the radio. There's a radio down there in the stubby holder. That's on 40.
Oh yes, coming to the hill.
So just put a call, say Drifta crew heading northbound towards Well 42. Anyone coming south?
Drifter party of 3 heading northbound to Well 42. Anybody heading south?
That's it. Put it back. Yeah, we just do that every few sand hills. It lugs down low well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's nice. It's got a little bit of torque. The old disco's got a bit of torque actually. I've been playing through the gears today rather than just leaving it in drive and letting it do its own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has got across the corrugations. It's chalk and cheese.
Yeah,
absolutely chalk and cheese.
Really?
Yeah. If you have a drive at the disco, you'll understand why we're crawling along.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, especially at here we are doing 40. That's comfortable as.
Yeah.
It's chalk and cheese.
Yeah, wow.
Absolutely chalk and cheese. Yeah.
Better check in on. How you going there, Darren? Good. It's a big
Like
crack
it's
there.
very comfortable, don't get me wrong, the Landy is super comfy.
Yeah.
But over the corrugations, it's hard work.
Just doesn't like him.
Nah. No, the auto's very cool on the sand though. You don't have to worry about, crikey, I'm in the right gear, wrong gear. I need to click another gear. But the torque of the V8. Well, we can fix that. We were going at an appropriate speed so that we could do a video.
Yeah.
I don't want Luke to be worried
I think
about a race rally, a roller's truck.
I think Glenn's showing off. Yeah, well, it's been a good trip, mate, hasn't it? It's been a pleasure to have you boys along, and it's been great, hasn't it?
No, I've had a blast. Thank you for having me along. Absolutely had a blast. I've probably travelled more Australia than most Australians now, I would suspect, particularly off-road.
Yeah, yeah.
And, camped at some amazing locations. We haven't done one night, two consecutive nights in one location, so we've had a new campsite every night.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, last night was pretty amazing, but we've had some incredible campsites along the way.
Because it's not much that makes a campsite, is it? A little bit of flat ground.
Yep.
Bit of firewood.
Yep, bit of firewood.
Bit of shelter from the wind.
Yep.
And that's it, isn't it? You
Yeah.
don't need much, but it's the people really, isn't it? And the fire, and it's the people in the fire, isn't it?
It's the people, it's the camaraderie, it's the stories, it's the enjoyment of the day. Even when we have little incidences along the way, they make for a better story.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It was good of Glenn to do that yesterday, that little incident, because it made for some good video, and I appreciate him doing that,
yeah, I tell you what, he got a shock. It caught him by surprise.
Oh, it's so funny. I suppose the rule is keep your hands on the steering wheel
Keep your hands on the wheel
when you're driving,
Yeah, it's one thing to be looking at it. It's another thing to actually.
Because he probably thought he was in the passenger seat, just so comfy. He's probably, because that truck almost drives itself, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And it is super comfy. But you do have to be careful with, particularly the corrugations and with the rolly bumps.
Yeah.
The air is not ideal, it's soaking that up, so you do have to have it at the right speed.
Yeah. Well,
But,
I'm going to if you pull up and I'll jump in and drive the disco.
No, I'm here now, I'm good, I'm staying on.
No, I'll Darren, you can get in here and I'll drive the disco. How's that?
That sounds like a good idea to me. Yeah.
See if that changes my life.
You'll definitely get a feel for, holy heck. Yeah, totally different.
Alright, wish me luck, alright?
Good luck, mate.
Alright, so this is for Oliver, right?
Go, Oliver.
I'm going to drive the disco.
I'm going to have a go at your Sydney.
Darren, you jumping back in the 79. You got to film.
Oh, I'm filming?
Yeah, you're filming.
No, I'm going to drive you 79.
No, you got to film me. I don't know how to drive this thing. You got to tell me.
You will end up buying a Landy.
Here we go.
Look, there he goes. He's fine. All right, so
Just got to pull in the drive. And pop it over there. Done.
that's it.
That's it. You're driving.
Am I allowed to wear this hat while I'm driving a Land Rover?
Yeah, check it out. Definitely in a Landy.
Ah, this is for Oliver Coke, so he talks it into this because before that, you'd never find me driving a Land Rover.
So what do you think? First impressions.
Well, it's it feels like it's floating a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, like Brendan said, you definitely mine's a little bit rolly, top end, because it's quite high and it wants to track around a lot more.
Yes.
It wants to, go like this a bit. So I think mine tracks better.
Yep.
But I got a little bit bigger tyres as well. See, that's what I don't like.
Oh, you're trying to
How do
bring
you
the
put
seat
your
forward?
seat forward?
On the right. It's got an electric slide.
Whoop.
No, wrong way.
Whoops.
Just the whole thing slides forward. No,
Whoops. Oh, I can't do it. It's alright.
it's alright.
See? Like I want to lean forward. No, it runs pretty smooth. I mean, we're doing 40. And that's nice. Real nice. Can I push some buttons, Like,
Yeah, which
can I
button?
experiment with a few buttons?
Yeah, which buttons want to push?
I don't know. What do you think? Recommend something to me. Snow?
Here we go. Let's change something. Stop and we'll change something. Here we go.
Alright.
So
Turn the music down a bit.
turn that down. So we go over here. So,
Luki, you better
same.
catch up. You're
There
too
we
slow.
go. So try that. There you go. Try that. You feel
What's
a bit
that?
different now.
What's
Got
that?
Different acceleration modes.
How do you talk on the radio?
Here. This one.
79. This is Landy coming over.
Leader of the pack, 79, receiving.
Oh, it's like braking on me.
Is it?
Which way do we go?
Right.
Oh, it's to bog down. Doesn't like that soft sand, eh?
No.
Like you sort of feel like, well, that's a little bit small tyres.
A little bit
So
small.
round to the right, eh?
Yeah, correct, round to the right.
Yeah, no worries. Put another call out on 40, eh? No, it's nice, mate.
It is comfy, isn't it, really?
It's the dash and there's no dust. Look,
Oh,
like on my white glove and went around here.
It's a little
No
bit.
dust.
A little bit.
I think it sits pretty well on the corrugations.
It does go alright as long as they're not really, really rough.
Yeah. Beautiful, mate. Very flash. I like this armrest.
Yeah. Captain's
And
chair.
It's a nice wheel too, eh? Like it's got good grip on it. The Land Cruiser wheels are a bit slippery,
Yeah.
but it's got good grip. And
You like the power?
I haven't really felt the power too much yet.
Have to give it a test.
But yeah, she does have power.
Oh, it's got power.
But the problem is when you put your foot down, you can't hear anything. Like the main reason you put your foot down is just to hear that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
You need like an artificial sound at least, something that comes through the radio, like record the V8 on mine and play it on the, like they do on a Tesla, artificial noise. Yeah, no, it runs sweet, mate. How much is something like this? How much is it going to cost me?
I think you can pick them up around 60 grand now, something like that.
60?
Pretty reasonable, really.
Jeez.
60, 70 grand.
79, all fitted out, probably cost me 200.
Yeah, this is way cheaper. Yeah.
All right, well,
There we are.
rightio guys. Yeah, 79. This is Landy requesting you pull up over. He's not going to pull up.
Copy that. We'll pull over in the next 100 kilometres.
Hey, yeah, but Darren, he misses me, mate, so, you know.
Yeah, she probably does, but she's enjoying the new company.
You still going?
I still feeling you're not comfortable in the Landy already.
No, it's pretty nice, actually. Very nice.
Yeah, the Landy is very smooth. There's no two ways about that.
Oh, clutch. Shit.
No clutch.
There you go, mate.
Ah.
You buying one?
Well, I can only have sort of... I've got 2 cars at the moment.
There you
But
go.
no, very good. What's all this water over here?
Oh,
everywhere.
Brennan spilled his water.
Thanks, bro. All right, bro. Handbrake. Don't need that.
Woohoo! Straight away, I like the sound.
Now listen, we're not in your Mercedes. Like,
Oh, it's very different. Very
I
different.
think you haven't got the right foot that Brandon's got, but you're a bit of a nerd because I've been in a Mercedes with you. And what sort of Mercedes is it?
E63.
Yeah. Yeah, and I never want to do that again, actually.
What I do love is just the sound
Yeah.
and how high you are.
If you could just replicate this sound in your truck, you'd be happy, Larry.
I'd be happy, Larry.
You navigating or what? You got to be.
No, I'm not
Navigating.
navigating.
You got to grab the radio too and put a call out down the bottom, right, down the bottom cup holder. Channel 40.
This one?
Yeah. Drifta crew heading northbound towards Well 42. Anyone heading southbound over?
Drifta crew heading northbound, well 42. Anyone heading southbound over?
That's it. Put it back. You can do that
It's a real good.
every couple of hills.
So what speed do you sit at? I'm doing 50.
Yeah, I'm doing about 40. I've been sitting about 40.
About here?
Yeah. Mostly sitting around 40. Yeah. But every time I pull up, I've got to wait 10 minutes for you. So what speed are you doing?
We range.
Here we go. This is a test. Sand hill.
What's Sand Hill?
A little double dipper, this one. Now remember, you're on Team 79, right? So we've got an impeccable record so far. We haven't got bog going up the hill, and we haven't got bog going down the hill. So just remember, you're representing Team 79, right?
I do love it. I love you know what I love about it? The height and the sound. That's what I love.
Yeah,
But the Land Rover's way smoother.
yeah.
Way smoother.
And your power just comes on so quick, eh?
Yeah, twin turbo makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. All good, mate.
So you're gonna buy a land? Well, what about we just swap trucks for like 3 months?
Okay, done.
Not starting now. When we get back to Sydney.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, so we're going to have a bit of a drive across the lake now. So it's going to be a bit quieter. Big old dry lake. And yeah, so back to America. Anyway, I got dropped off by the Canadian cowboy to Bobby's house, went in there and we caught up and he took me around and then the next day he was busy, but he sent me off with one of his mates
mate called Harry, and Harry was a farrier on the LA racetrack. So yeah, I went and spent a day with Harry, and we went to the racetrack, and we were shoeing horses, and that's what Bobby was. He was a farrier, and he used to shoe, you know, at the racetrack, the race horses. Anyway, Harry would, they were charging back then about $60 a horse, you know, and they could whip them on and off in about 15 minutes. So he did about, you know, 8-10 horses, I think, and by lunchtime we were done, and he's like packed up his tools, and you know, he's like, righto, let's go to the bar or the pub, and yeah, so then Harry took me to the pub, and we just had a great time chatting and yarning, and like Harry's an older fella, he was probably 50, more than 50 at the time, and I was only in my early 20s, and yeah, we got a ball, and we finally rung Bob, and Bobby come picked us up, and we were just really drunk by then. And anyway, so we got back to Bob's the next day. You know, I sort of said to Bob, well, yeah, what am I going to do? And yeah, that's right, I mentioned, he said, why don't you come to Washington State? And so I agreed to do that, and I'm like, right, well, I need some wheels, you know. And you know, I didn't have, you know, I had earned some good money, you know, in the gold mine, but you know, backing up the story a bit, I was with a girl in Cairns, and Japanese girl, she got pregnant actually, and took off back to Japan, and you know, had a baby, which is Millie, she's now come back. You know, she's now 26 actually. So this is well before Kaido and Kaido's mum. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, so all of my money I sent over there. So I was basically broke again. All the money I earned at the Tanamite, I'd sent over to Japan, and so I didn't have a lot. And yeah, so I found a motorbike down in San Diego, which I think was San Diego, it's really south. And yeah, I got on the bus to head down there. There was these, you know, like a bus goes just around everywhere, you know. You could pay $1 to get on, and so anyway, I paid $1, but it was so cheap. But it stopped at literally every intersection, you know. And it was probably 100 k's down there. And I left in the morning, and it was just all day on this bus, and people getting on and off, and you know, it was getting late. And at one point I thought, geez, I'm not even going to make it today, you know. And I finally got down there to buy this motorbike, and it was an XL 650, and it was dark when I got there. And you know, I hadn't ridden a 650 before. I'd ridden my little 250 around, like we talked about, all the way up to Cairns, and with my swag, and I wanted just to do that, you know. And you know, I rocked up there, and you know, the guy didn't have any papers for it, and I think the bike was probably stolen. It had no papers. So anyway, I gave him the cash. It was about $900 or $1,000 US. I didn't have much option, you know, but I gave him the money and got him a bike. And he asked me if he had a helmet, so I bought an open face, you know, like a motocross helmet. And there was he had a spare front tyre, so he asked if he wanted that, and I'm like, yeah, no worries, may as well take it. So I put that over my shoulders, had this spare front tyre, and it was now dark, and I'm in San Diego, and I've got to get back to Bobby Curtis in Anaheim somewhere. Yeah, I mean, that was a real mission, you know, and I didn't get there till about midnight. Bob was really worried, which, you know, I hadn't called, but he was so worried about me. Anyway, I took off from this bloke's house, and you got all the freeways, and I'd never been on freeways before. And, you know, it was literally the first time on a big motorbike, and driving on the right-hand side of the road on a freeway at night time. I had no goggles, so that was a bit of a problem. And you know, I was freaking out a bit, trying to find my way back, and you know, I just used to stop at the traffic lights, and you know, I got off the freeway and asked the traffic lights which way to Anaheim, and everyone knows Anaheim because it's Disneyland. And one time I stopped and I saw a guy on the sidewalk, you know, so I pulled up and went over and asked him. I had a little map, and I said, which way is it to Anaheim, you know? And he said, I'll tell you for $10, you know. And that's another thing in America, you know, like you get people like that too. I suppose more in the cities. You'd never hear that in the country, but I was a bit shocked. I'm like, what do you mean you would tell me for $10? You know, I'm not giving you $10. Just point in the right direction. Anyway, you wouldn't tell me. So, yeah, you know, ask somebody else. Anyway, I finally found my way back to Bobby's house, and yeah, so we had a plan. We said, well, I'll ride up to, you know, Washington State, which is a fair way, you know, California to Washington State's a few thousand miles, and Bob was going to move up there in 6 weeks. So his plan was, because he was a farrier, but he had a car wreck. He had a car crash, a wreck they call it, and it busted his knees up. He had a Ford Bronco, and because of that he couldn't work as a farrier anymore. So his plan was to build a big shed and work as a cabinet maker, you know. So I said, well, that's awesome. Like, I'll give you a hand to build your shed, you know. So he was going to move all his gear back, and he bought a block of land in a little town where he grew up called Okanagan, right next door to his mum. And he bought a block from his mum, and he was going to build his shed and yeah, work. So that sounded awesome to me, and I thought that was great that I could meet him back there in 6 weeks, and I'd give him a hand, you know. I was happy to help him for free. And anyway, so we next morning we tied all my gear on, and I had to wear the backpack on my back, and had a little army bag I put on the tank, the fuel tank. I tied that on around the fuel tank. That had all my leather gear. I had lots of kangaroo lace, you know, and I used to make belts, and I'd literally, you know, make belts and sell them as I was travelling around and get a bit of cash. And then I had my swag tied on the back of the seat, and then I had nowhere for my hat, you know, it wouldn't fit in anywhere. So I said, Bobby, what do I do with my hat? And he went inside and he got an old, you know, or a hat box. He had all the beautiful Stetson hats, and he had a Stetson hat box, you know, a cardboard box. So I'm like, perfect. So we put my hat in this beautiful Stetson hat box, and we tied that on the back of the swag, you know, and that was it. So I took off. But now I got all my gear on this bike, and you know, I took off. And again, it's really hard. Bobby got me in the right direction, but we're pretty much heading west. I wanted to go to the Grand Canyon, you know, and which is sort of west. No, we're on the west, so it's east, heading east towards, you know, heading east, and it's Arizona, isn't it? Grand Canyon, I'm pretty sure. So I'm heading out of Los Angeles, and you're on the freeway, and I used to stick to the right hand side because that's the slow lane, you know. But what kept happening is the freeways that, you know, veer off. You have your exits, and I wouldn't see the sign, and next thing I'm wanting to go east, and next thing I'm veering off, and I'd have to ride up, you know. I'd just sort of cut the corner and ride back on the grass, back on the freeway again. And I was, you know, fairly freaking out because also the bike was a bit unsteady, you know. It was a bit wobbly, and it took me a while to get used to it, and I'm on the right hand side of the road, and yeah, you know, I had to go pretty slow, you know, maybe, I don't know, in kilometres, sort of 70, 80, I suppose, and the American cars go pretty fast, so I was just right on the very right-hand side, you know. Anyway, finally got out of the city and into some open place, and, you know, open ground. All of a sudden you're in the desert, you know. And so, yeah, I just used to find, like what we're doing now, you know, I'd find a little patch of trees and park my bike, and I had my little Trangie stove. I always carried that, and just like I did in Australia, travelling around, and set up my little hoochie, and it was great, you know. I loved it. It was just awesome. So I just pull up, and then, you know, next morning keep going, and just on my own. And they got to Flagstaff, Arizona, and I met this. First up, I met this Austrian guy called Hans, his name was, a little short, fat guy, and from Austria, really nice fella, and we looked at the Grand Canyon together, and he, you know, we were heading the same direction, so we decided to travel together for a bit, and my backpack was really heavy on my shoulders, so I thought I'd ask him. He's got a car, you know. I said, "Oh, do you mind if you carry my backpack?" And he said, "Yeah, no worries." And he's a nice guy anyway, so he took my backpack, and again, you know, then he sort of took off a bit quick, and I couldn't keep up with him, you know, and I was like, bloody hell, you know, I've trusted this guy, you know, and he's got my backpack and he's gone, and he went out of sight, you know, and you know, because there's big long straight roads out there, and anyway, sure enough, he pulled up to the next stop and waited for me, so that was really good. He carried my backpack for a while. Then we got together to this place called Flagstaff, and there's amazing little backpackers there, you know, like a little backpackers inn, and it was like an Asian looking guy, and he reminded me of a Buddha, you know. He was just, you know, I think he had a red dot, maybe, I don't know, but he was a really, you know, amazing character. I think he was gay, to be honest, which was fine, but he was just so warm and welcoming, and he looked, literally, you stayed there one night, he looked after you like you were his son, you know what I mean, and cooked these big meals for us. And anyway, so me and Hans shared a bunk room, but I didn't realise, but Hans snored like crazy, so I had to get my swag, and you know, I'd paid for accommodation, but I ended up sleeping out next to my motorbike out in the car park because I couldn't sleep. Anyway, the next morning I was sitting there, and I was writing letters. I used to write all the time I'm travelling. I used to write letters, you know, just send back to mum, dad. And I used to love writing down what I was doing, you know. Like I felt if I wasn't doing what I did, I would have liked to be a journalist, you know. Because for some reason I just felt in me that I wanted to share the story. I've always felt that. And so I always just write a lengthy story, like a letter. And this is why I can remember a lot of it, because if you write something down, you remember it. And I wrote these long letters, pages, hundreds of pages. You know, I'd save them up and I'd send them back to Dad, and you know, they went in the newspaper and different things. And but that was a record I had. You know, I've still got them. But that was one of the reasons I remembered everything, is I can remember it because I wrote it all down. And anyway, I sit down one morning just on a foolscap piece of paper and writing a bit of what I'm doing, a bit of a story, and this girl walked up, and well, I had my legs spread out because I was sitting on the ground, and she had to step over me, and I said, "Oh, how you going?" And she said, "How you going?" And I was like, "Oh, you're an Aussie." And she said, "Yeah, where are you from?" I said, "Oh, Blaney." And she was from Toowoomba, I think, Toowoomba or somewhere. Bettina, a funny German, she was German background, and Bettina Engelberg or something. Anyway, really cool chick, and we got chatting, and she was heading the same direction as me also, and which was Vegas, and she had a boyfriend, an American guy in Vegas, and so we decided to, you know, I ditched Hans as a travelling buddy, and I started travelling with Bettina. So I threw my backpack in her car. She had a little Volvo or a little Skoda or a Renault or something like that, a little European car she bought, and we headed off towards Vegas, and yeah, and anyway, we had a couple of good nights. We pulled up, saying we just camped in the bush, and Tina was a real traveller. I think she'd been travelling for 2 years. She hadn't been home to Australia in 2 years. She went to Israel and worked in the kibbutz and all through Europe, and 2 years travelling. She was a really tough traveller, you know. And I remember we'd sort of come back into northern, from Vegas, we come back into northern California, and we travelled these bush tracks, and I was a real adventurer, you know, and there was tracks that, you know, we went down that she would have never gone down, and you know, in northern California we ended up on these tracks, and well, heading out from Vegas, we went through Death Valley first, and yeah, Death Valley was amazing. It was, but it was so hot. It was April now, and anyway, Bettina had my bag, and she'd sort of taken off, but what happened? I only had my sunglasses. You know, I didn't have any goggles. You know, you really need a full face or goggles. I only had sunglasses, and once you got in the middle of Death Valley, it got so hot, and you got those big, you know, mountains of rock mountains, and the heat was just bouncing off them, and it was burning my eyeballs. It was so hot that the wind was literally burning my eyeballs, so I had to slow ride down to 30-40 k's an hour, and I only had a litre of water. Bettina was gone. We agreed to meet at the next place, you know, 100 k's up the road, and anyway, I drank that water so quick, and then going so slow, it took me a long time, and I was, you know, I've been in the army, we'd learned about heat stroke and all that, and I was getting heat stroke at you know, the wind and the heat just sucks the moisture out of you. And anyway, I rolled into, there's a golf club in the middle of the desert, like a little oasis golf club, and I rolled up there and nearly fell off my bike, and I was so dehydrated. And anyway, so Bettina, we agreed then to, you know, pull up a bit earlier for us. And yeah, so then we kept going, and we headed back to the California coast, and we ended up, well, it must have been south of San Francisco, I think, because Ted Bettina's boyfriend wasn't there yet, so it must have been south of San Fran. And we're on the coast, the beautiful coastline. There was these, ended up in these muddy tracks, you know, like a four-wheel drive track, and you know, it just got worse and worse. And we found an old guy there with the, you know, big old overweight American he was, and he was stuck. There was a log across the track, like up high, but he had one of these F-150s with a canopy on the back, like a, you know, like a caravan on the back. And he was there chopping away with his little axe to try and chop this tree, but he was not getting anywhere, and he'd been stuck for a while. And so, yeah, of course, he was blocking the track, so I gave him a hand, and I got his axe and a bow saw and cut the tree down and got rid of it, and then, yeah, got him through. And then we're driving through, and there's these big bog holes started coming up, and like I'm on a motorbike and loving it, just flying through these tracks and really waiting for Bettina. She had this little Skoda or something, and there's these mud holes, you know, and we're literally on a four-wheel drive track in the middle of nowhere, and she's on this little front-wheel drive car, so we used to have to, I used to stop at the mud holes, and we'd get little sticks and poke in where the wheel ruts were in the mud, you know, so I could see, and then I'd drive it through. And if we had got bogged, we would have been over. We had no recovery gear. Anyway, it was a bit of an adventure, and we got through, and then you know, we got into San Francisco, and met up with Ted, the boyfriend. He was, well, maybe looked a bit like me. He had a big red beard. We had really red hair and a big red beard, and really jovial, friendly guy. And oh, a bit rough here. How many minutes is that, Tony?
18.
Hey?
18.
18?
Yeah.
Alright, we might leave it there with Ted and Bettina, and I'll try and remember exactly the story, because we come into, well, we must have met, we didn't meet in San Francisco, we met in Sequoia National Park, I think it was, one of the really famous national parks, and you know, we were camping there. Yeah, that's where we met up. Sequoia, sort of on the eastern side of San Francisco, and we met Ted there and Ted's other friends. And anyway, during the middle of the night, we got a warning. The rangers all come around and woke us up, and they said, look, there's a heap of snow up in the mountains, and there's been a lot of rain, and there's a flood coming down. It's going to hit in a couple of hours, so you basically got to get out. So they pretty much evacuated all of us in the middle of the night, and the river was starting to come up, and she had to get up and pack up. But then Sequoia National Park is really famous. It was packed full of people, and then there was a traffic jam to get out, you know, and it was a real sort of thing, because there's basically a flash flood coming down the valley from miles away, and we were stuck at one of the crossings, and it was on the news, you know, because there's literally a flash flood coming, and we were all stuck there on the road, and anyway, we were waiting to get out, but there was a traffic jam, and so anyway, we waited and finally got out. But then it was dark coming into San Francisco, and it was raining, and anyway, so what happened was it started raining, and it's dark, and the rain was, I couldn't wear my sunglasses because it's dark, and then I couldn't have nothing on because the rain was stinging my eyes, you know. And we're literally driving into San Francisco, all those four-way stop signs, which I still at that time couldn't understand. Anyway, I sped up and caught up with Tina and said, stop, you know, I can't follow you, you know, because I was following on my motorbike. I said, I can't see because the rain's stinging my eyes. And so Ted was having a think, and he goes, oh, I've got some, I said to her, I need some goggles, you know, I need goggles. Anyway, Ted's like, oh, I found some goggles down, he found a set of goggles on the beach a few days earlier. So he pulled them out of his bag, and they're literally a pair of snorkeling goggles, you know. I'm like, oh, that'll do. So we but they wouldn't fit inside the helmet, you know, of course, because they're snorkeling goggles. So we got some grey tape and we taped them at the front of my helmet, but taped them around. But you know, they stuck out this far, so it was literally my helmet and the goggles at the front here, and I had no peripheral vision at all. I could see forward, so that was pretty crazy, you know, in the dark and the rain and driving into San Francisco with these snorkeling goggles taped on the front of my helmet. I could hardly see. And we'd get all these four-way stop zones. We're in the suburbs, and we went to Ted's parents' house, I think, or friends of Ted's, and they had a house in the suburbs, and it was crazy. And the four-way stop zones, as one car goes through, you're supposed to then let the other car go through. So whoever was there first gets to go. I couldn't understand all that, so as soon as Bettina went through, I'd just follow it because I didn't want to get lost from her. But as soon as she went, the next car would go, and I'm zooming through, and they'd all bip their horn and shout at me, you know, because I'm breaking the rules basically. And anyway, we finally got to this house in the suburbs, and we made it. You know, we'll leave it there, and we'll tell a bit more of that tomorrow. All right, guys. Gate when they're trotting. It's 2 legs on one side and then 2 legs on the other. Horses don't do that. See if I can get down them. Come on, boys. Yeah, it was just dunes all day today. Heading towards Gravity Lakes. See on the GPS, you can see that it's just these dunes after dune, and yeah, they're pretty easy to get up. Nobody's just stuck. But coming this way, like they're very steep on the downside. So coming north to south, that'd be pretty cool. You know, it'd be a bit of a challenge because they're just very steep on the northern side. It's starting to get pretty overgrown up here, so it's going to get more and more overgrown now. A few anthills starting to pop up, and yeah, it's about an hour or so to Gravity Lake. I'll pull up there for lunch, get a fire going, and yeah, Richard loves to get a little fire going for smoke over his brew and also for lunch. So just a little fire of twigs, you know, and he can boil his billy, and then when you're done, we just kick sand over it and puts it out. Yeah, so you know, this track, of course we hadn't done it before, but it's really like doing the Madigan line 3 times over. You know, if you get the Madigan up, back and up again, I think that'd be a bit like the Canning, you know. It's a lot of sand hills. There's nothing too challenging, but you know, it's just a lot of them, you know. And if you're set up right, you're not going to have any trouble. I'm just second gear, high range. Really never put in low range. And yeah, look at that. Just sand hill after sand hill for miles and miles and miles. Just give another call. Yeah, Drifta crew northbound heading to well 45. Anybody heading south over? Yesterday we saw 2 parties coming south. Yeah, so yeah, it is important to get on the radio and just keep calling out. Yesterday's somebody just about to take off. I called them up and they were at well 35 or something. And
39.
so they 39 was it? And we would have met them literally on a sand hill over the hill, because we were only a few hundred metres on the other side. And they'd stopped for a brew and just got going. But yeah, we saw 3 cars coming towards us yesterday and nothing today. Haven't heard any. Good thing too, it's just on 40, second little radio. So I've got 2 of these handhelds. Well, I've got 3 of them actually. Well, 4. I've got 4 in total, 2 in the back. 1 could be charging. I've got a spare one for somebody else if the radio breaks down. So carrying 4. So one's on 40 to listen to any traffic coming ahead. One's down here, which is on 72. So if I want to jump out and film or recovery, really important doing a recovery, have a little handheld so you can tell people to back up or pull up, whatever. And then I've got 1 charging and 1 spare, you know. So I've got 4 handhelds, because that's how critical the radio is to, you know. It's a very important piece of gear, the UHF, and even though you've got a built-in, you know, you really need at least 1 and preferably a couple of handhelds. You know, they're very handy. So yeah, it looks like we'll get to well 46 tonight, or this afternoon. We'll try to push through to get to 46, which is the big flooded well. And we saw a guy, yeah, he tried to get around it, he got bogged. The 2 boys tried to get through it, they got bogged. So it won't be any big deal, but have to have a good look and pick a line and make sure we get around okay. And yeah, we've heard Gravity Lakes is flooded as well, so we don't know much about what's happening there. But yeah, well 46 tonight, and then I think we'll get to 51 tomorrow night. And then after that it'll be Billy Luna the next day by about lunchtime, you reckon. So that'll sort of put about 10 days on the track, I suppose. It's been 7 nights so far, I think. And yeah, it'd be, I mean, we're not mucking around, we're up early on the track, but we're not getting to every well either, you know. We're sort of, yeah, we're not on a strict timeline, but we're not getting, a lot of the wells you've got to drive sometimes 20 k's off the track, and we're not doing that. We're not trying to tick off every well, although a lot of people do, which is fine, you know. Yeah, but you know, as soon as we're finished, Glenn and Brendan will head straight back. It's about a 5 days home for him. I didn't expect this many sand hills. So I didn't really do any research on the canning, but I saw a few photos and stuff, and I thought there'd be a lot of sand hills, but only small, you know, like nothing much at all. But yeah, you know, these are about half the height of an average sand hill of the Simpson, and yeah, you know, definitely got to have your tyres right and pick the right gear to get around them. But yeah, truck's going really well. We've been lucky, and we've at the start of the trip, you know, it's such a big trip, and I was worried about every little noise, you know, but the ABS is a broken wire, that's fine. The other noise in the suspension was just the rear shock mount hitting the muffler. I was a little worried about the clutch, you know, because it was a bit jerky the odd time in reverse, and I was worried that the clutch might be going, but that's held up really well. I've been worried about the mounts on the canopy, because actually on the Perth trip we broke the mounts. Well, I don't know, they broke, you know, 3 mounts on the canopy broke or cracked, you know. I mean, that was a real concern. We got it back, and we got new mounts, and they're stronger. So I've been checking those, because that was one of my big concerns. You know, if you crack your mounts in your canopy, you know, the thing would just topple off onto the ground, and what are you going to do then, you know? But I've heard a bit, you know, it happens more than you think, you know, or it does happen, you know, these big canopies, and trying to make them light, and it all comes down to the mount that holds the canopy in place, and it does happen, and they crack. So it's a good idea to really know where they are and what to look for, and to keep an eye on them, you know. Yeah, but they've held up really good. You know, I got it back to our mate, and he strengthened them up, and I told him I'm going to the canning, and you know, I don't want to be ringing him up and something's happened. So he made sure it's really reinforced. I haven't had any flats on the canning, nothing at all. I checked the tyres this morning, went around with the rattle gun, and everything was tight. There was nothing loose. There has been reports of 2 or 3 people that have lost a shock absorber. Yeah, nuts have come loose, so that's something to really keep an eye on. You don't want that happening. And the other, like I said before a few times, the biggest risk I think is a you know, you're driving on half flat tyres, around 20, 25, whatever. They're half flat, and if you get a puncture, it is hard to know you got a flat. So I think if I had it again, I'd probably, well, I got some, I think they're Unidan monitors, had a little you know, thing on the dash, and solar powered, no cords, was good, but they just, yeah, bipping all the time, and I couldn't program them. I've heard the ARB one, you know, it's similar, but these Axis ones, I wouldn't mind getting those and trying to get them programmed properly so they work for you, because I think if I come here again, I'd try to get a set of tire pressure monitors, because yeah, if you know, you can easily blow 2 tyres just by running them flat, you know, and you don't have to run them flat for long, and they will just you'll wreck them, you know. Yeah, so it's starting to get pretty overgrown here. Heading to well 44 or 45. Yeah, anyway. Definitely, if you've got a nice vehicle, you know, you're going to destroy it out here with the paintwork, you know. So if you've got a good vehicle, you know, you really want to make sure you got some sort of protective covering, you know, over the panels. You know, I'm not worried about it at all. I don't care, because I'll keep this car, and you know, couldn't really care less if it gets scratched up, to be honest. But if you are worried, then there's all sorts of coatings you can get, ceramic coatings or, you know, stuff like that. And I think it's, yeah, you can see you're going to get scratched the shit out. You know, so that's something you need to do. And definitely, you know, with the disco, they come standard 19-inch rims, and you really got to get some 18s. You know, no good having 19-inch rims out here. You just can't get the, you haven't got enough tall enough sidewall to get some, you know, for them to flatten out. So Glenn's put 18-inch rims on, and that's made a massive difference to his landing in the sand, you know. And because we did an Adelaide trip with him where we did Beachpoint to Robe, and he had 19s, and he had a lot of trouble. He just couldn't get his tyres down enough to, you know, the taller the sidewall. That's why 35 is so good in the sand. They just flatten out so well. Anyway, alright, bit of a chat about the trip. Alright, so we're coming on Gravity Lakes here. So lots of water in it. Downey wants to put the drone up. It's very hard here, so that's pretty good. We'll pull up here and we'll get the drone out, Downey.
Yes.
Alright.
Okay.
Yeah, it's heading up to, well, what is it, 45. And pretty overgrown, you can see. So, yeah, I've seen people have the sand flags up on the roof rack, and I've seen a couple having them at the rear of the roof rack. It's sort of a bit of a wrong spot for the flag, really. It really needs to be on your bull bar. First thing you need to see coming over a sand hill is the bull bar and the flag, not the back of your roof rack. And a lot of people have been saying their flags have been ripped off, and yeah, one thing is make sure the actual red flag is really well zip tied on. And but I think, you know, 2 lengths, yeah, if it's going to be too high, it's going to get a real flogging. But we've had these ones, they're WA made, and they haven't missed a beat the whole trip. Glenn's got one the same, and yeah, they've been great. So I think, you know, with proper mount on the front, yeah, it's just on the aerial mount and bolted on, and it's working great. It's got the quick release as well, so you can easily take it off. And, yeah, between 44 and 45, it's very overgrown. Not much you can do, but sort of tape up your car where you can and burst through it, you know. We're going to try and get to 46 tonight. So we've got to get to 45 and then try and get to 46. And we'd like to camp there if we can. So yeah, just put a little bit of air in the tyre. It's dropping about 5 psi a day. What had happened, way back in the gun barrel, we got like a little double puncher right next to each other, within 3-4 mils of each other. So I plugged one, and it seemed to fix the other one, you know. Just squashed it up, but it's definitely leaking a little bit in there. So it's maybe about 5 psi a day. So I've just been pumping it up a little bit. But later on, I might try to stick a plug in that other little hole. Should be fine. Otherwise, yeah, so it's a bit after 2, and yeah, I'd say we won't get to camp on 4. I would like to camp at this 46 because lots going on there, people get involved, and it'd be a nice spot to pull up and camp, you know. So you know, a trip like this really felt that on the Simpson and the Cape York. You know, everything's about trying to get to the goal or the finish of the trip, you know. And but as soon as you're at the end of the trip, which is what you're trying to do, you're trying to achieve that and make that and get there. As soon as you're there, you just want to be right back here, you know. You want to be on the track, and I guarantee you every night for the next month after we finish, we're going to want to be right back where we are, you know. It's funny that, isn't it? You know, it's a bit like life. That, you know, you got to make sure you appreciate the journey. You know, and you know, everyone's so focused on getting ahead and getting this, getting that, paying off their house, or getting a bigger house, or a better this or that, you know. And yeah, you know, you got to really make sure you appreciate the journey every day, because at the end of the day, that's what you look back on, and that's what counts, you know. And you know, it doesn't matter what you got. It's amazing how happy you can be with quite little, you know. And but you know, you've got to sort of strive for your best every day as well. Richard talks like that too, you know. You've got to do your best at everything, every task that you set yourself. You've got to strive and do your best, and yeah, and like Richard says, just be happy you're alive. Doesn't matter. I know I'm like that, in that you're always wanting, you know, to get more, or to get finished, or to, you know, get where you want to be. At the same time, you know, yeah, you have to really appreciate the journey. And it's a lot like this, you know. It's all about, you know, trying to get to the end of the trip, and yeah, and then, you know, we are appreciating the journey. It's been great. So, but for sure, as soon as you get to the end, all you want to do is be back about halfway, you know. Alright, here's well 46. And here's all the tracks left by Don and Adam and Johnny. The boys were bogged up in there. I think Adam was bogged over there. John was bogged up over here. Upside down truck over there. Well, I just walked in here 10 metres and it's boggy as all hell, so boy, anyone would drive in. No, I wouldn't be going anywhere near this place. But anyway, the track's probably hard bottom, but even so. Alright, just need to try and find a bit of firewood and find a camp. Glenn's having a bit of trouble driving through that thick scrub. He's only going quite slow, so he'll be a while yet. Yes, we've got a camp in here. You can see it's a little bit, well, it's soft, it's not boggy. And got a little patch up there. Walked through that.
trick is for me, what I learnt in Broome is you just walk through with your heels in the ground. Right, you can see that? And how deep your heels are tell you, so that's it, If you sort of stamp in the ground with your heel and you don't fully sink down, you're right. Works on the beach, works in everything, So,
Okay.
yeah, the boys can camp here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty good, eh?
Hey, bro.
Looking for a campsite?
I am.
Yeah.
I
Take
am.
your bookings.
Well, I did get your booking. And
Beautiful.
I've got a little spot for you.
Thanks, mate. Well, 46.
Right, so I've got one of Adam's better beers. I don't know where they come from, but I think he should bring out a beer. You reckon Adam should bring out a beer like 1246 or something?
I think he should, because he can't call it bitter beer.
No, like something unique,
Yep. Bogged up to the shitter, maybe.
What a day, bro.
I camped at well 46.
Yeah. With a waterfront. You gonna be right out there, bro, like that far away from camp with the dingoes?
Oh, mate, they can join me.
Yeah?
Keep me warm and company.
Okay, it's gonna take us,
Okay.
it'll take us a good 20 steps to get to you. There's an extra two minutes.
I can put a recovery line.
If they're dragging you away, it'll take us longer to get to you, but anyway.
Plenty? Okay.
Right, Darren and Uncle Richard are conspiring to make some dinner. What have you got going, Darren?
We make carbonara, bush carbonara.
Bush carbonara.
I'll water it down directly. Just take should be some nice, beautiful shots
Yeah, okay.
of that road going in,
Yeah, let's do that, eh?
Yeah. I'll grab the other camera.
How was that drive this afternoon, eh? Like, geez.
Oh. I mean, we had a good run with that straight section.
Yeah.
We were doing well. Bang, just come on to the jungle.
Yeah.
Just overgrown and so slow and a lot of scratches, but
Yeah.
that's nothing bit of TLC can't
Yeah.
work over the next 3-4 months.
Yeah. That's a good word for it, the jungle.
It is, yep.
Yep. So, carbonara, bush carbonara and steak, Darren, is that right?
Yeah. And this here, look, see that water was right up here.
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah.
So this is all swamp for the next 3-4 kilometers.
Yeah.
That's a bit where those guys try to come through. We'll go down and take some photos shortly, yeah. But this is all just swampy area.
Yeah, it's all underwater, wasn't it?
It is, yeah.
We've got some water boiling, we've got some pumpkin in there. Richard's little billy's always on the fire. First thing to go on. And we've got a little stump there, bit of acacia. And look at that. Second last night, I'd say. It's our regular little setup. Plant a chair, footstool, little table. And that's it. Right. Yeah, you don't reckon you would have driven in there, Richard?
No. Been in too many situations like that,
Hmm.
You think, oh yeah, it's all right. No.
What would you do? Like if you're here and somebody's never done this, never driven through water, they got to here on their own, what would you suggest to do?
Oh, I'd stay there or go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't drive through that, eh?
No, it's hopeless. Because it's all just that clay, sandy, loam, soft stuff, it just bottomless.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's scary because like our mate said, like, shit, what have we done? No one around,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, you're in the
Yeah,
middle
good.
of the most isolated desert in the world.
That's it, you know. You
You go.
can't make a call.
Yeah.
Yes, he was just totally stressed out. Was it not John?
Yeah. Yeah.
John, yeah.
Very stressed that night, and
Yep, Adam wasn't too bad.
but the big thing here too is, you know, this time of night is when they drove into it, or a bit later.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, this is the time to be throwing out your swag, 100%. Not anything
Totally.
else, you know.
Totally.
Just
No,
sit here and have a think about it, you know.
that's it. We'll talk about it, sleep on it, check it in the morning, have a look if there's a track around, walk. Even if you got to walk 2 kilometres, you know, walk it and just have a look.
Yeah, that's what I often do. I drove back this isolated beach in WA last year, and I was up the beach, a lot of seaweed. I didn't know if I could get through, and I just always just jump out and walk up, run up the beach, you know, go a little walk, and
That's it.
or like they used to say in the old days, put the billy on and have a think about it, you know. You break
That's it.
down, stop, relax, put the billy on,
That's it.
you know.
That's
Yeah,
it. Because I've been in situations like this many times, you know, where you half a day you do 100 yards, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, you jack it up and then you put the bog. Not so much. We didn't have any bog mats, but you'd cut a lot of these old logs put under. Then you'd hit it. You go 20 feet and then bang down again.
Especially in a truck, like in a semi, you can't afford to get stuck in a semi, can you?
It's bad. Yeah.
Heading out to stations and it's wet, you know, like
No,
you can't get them out, can you?
no. You gotta hope someone comes along or call out, you know. What else? See, it can't be that wide, eh?
No, there is a track to the right there, back there.
See, looks like there's a track there. Looks like there's a toilet there.
Yeah.
But there's a track coming in there, so it's.
Where's the track?
You just look under that tree on the right hand side. Looks like a clearing.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Looks like it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it would only be 100 metres across probably, eh?
Probably, yeah.
But, you know, you can certainly, well, there's 1,000 miles worth of area you can drive around, isn't there?
Yeah. Look, if you're uncertain, then just walk it and get some stakes, put on outside of your tracks. Then you know in the middle it's hard.
Yeah, yeah. Like
know,
if you had to go through, you thought you get it.
Yeah,
Yeah, put some stakes in the ground.
That's it. So you got a line, a marker there, then you can stay within that marker. Yeah.
Yeah. When we went across that Air Creek, we were saying the other night, you know, I walked that back and forth 3 times.
Yep.
It was a good 80 metres, 3 times, you know, just to feel the bottom and just think about it. And, you know,
That's
then
it.
we decided to do it, but not until I'd walked it 3 times, you know.
Oh, that's it. Nice to see it that way.
Beautiful, eh?
You know, after. Yeah.
And look how still it is, eh? Beautiful and still.
Beautiful. Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Beautiful, Glennie, eh?
This is where they were stuck over here.
Is it? Oh, there was one of them here.
As far as they got.
Yeah, you're right, Glenn. Jeez, right off the track. Oh. Look at that.
Must have been someone else, hey, you know?
There's a corona there.
Yeah.
I wonder if that is.
Yep.
Well, we've got to pick that up for him.
In fact, here they are, both of them. 1, 2.
Oh, this is where they got stuck here. Yeah, it is too.
It can't be. 200 series. How mate didn't come in? You wouldn't have pulled them out of there.
Yeah, no, he did.
You pulled them backwards, that way. From here? Yeah, pulled them that way.
So
Both of them were pulled backwards.
he drove in on the track.
Yeah.
And then pulled them back and then pulled them that way. Yeah, wow. Well, they won't go on it. Yeah, because he did try to pull them this way, didn't he?
200 series got well to get to here.
He tried to pull them that way,
Yeah. Okay.
but he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
No, she's bobbed in.
Silly buddy. So there is another track here.
Yeah, you can see where the track goes to the left and they've come straight.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so Hyundai series was over there and the 2 here,
Oh, mate, Don's done well, hasn't he?
didn't he?
Yeah, what a legend.
He did a great job. Pull them all the way back through.
Yeah. That's where they camped tonight.
Yeah, in the slush. Looks like they tried with a couple of planks of wood.
We're going to arrive
Right.
7 minutes before the sun goes down.
What have we got going on over here?
We've got an amazing dish.
Glenn, Darren's got a tip for you, right?
Yes.
You're sitting in the car all day, right? All day.
Yes.
And then you could be thinking about what to prepare for dinner. But I've noticed you stand at the back of your car
Having a beer.
and then you start thinking about what you're going to have for dinner.
No, we're blokes. We don't mind, see?
No, I'm just giving you a tip, you know.
Oh, no, it's not going to.
Like maybe lunchtime or 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. That's what Darren does.
Yeah.
Starts thinking about it.
We're like 5-minute prep.
Yeah. Oh, that's pumpkin, is it? Oh, wow. Well, that's not bad.
Lucky the
Jeez.
camera can't taste the food there.
That's a new Google feature.
Yeah, got to get the update. How's that, Uncle Rich?
We load in
Pumpkin and
Nice, bud.
you got a bit of damper with it as well?
Yep.
Oh, good on you.
Bit of
Damper.
bit of chili sauce and.
Yep, yep.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, grab some damper there, Brendan, if you.
This beautiful sky.